This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1653, Off the Rack Reviews on The Button.
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
And I'm Adam Murdo.
Are you mocking me?
I am.
Comic Geek Speak.
And then Adam's mocking me, mocking you.
Exactly.
All right. I get it. All right, well, welcome to the show. In this episode, we're going to go in-depth and all spoilery on the recent DC crossover mini-event, I guess you will, The Button, from Batman issues 21 and 22 and Flash issues 21 and 22.
Now, you know that everyone listening is going just like we did, button, who's got the button?
Well, yes, I know. We did it before we got started here.
Yeah.
This actually was more of a... fly by seat of your pants kind of episode. We actually had something else planned, but fell through. That's fine. So we're not going to talk about some recent comics, which
we don't always get to
we don't always get to do that, unfortunately. And
These days we tend to do like one recent event episode per year.
Yeah, because we usually most of us get our books monthly through DCBS. But actually, for this event, I went out and got them at the stores when they came out, if I could find them when they came out, because I was really jazzed about.
I was too.
Finding out what's going on with the series, because it's the first big thing to come out of the DC Rebirth special to follow up on what the events in the issue.
Yeah. Now, I was thinking, and I thought you said this on another episode, do you get the Flash book now to read monthly?
I do. I'm a little behind. I
So
think
am I.
I've read up to issue 12 or 13.
I think that's about where I am too.
But actually, I after this... I think I get 2 more issues, and then I dropped it because I'm just not I don't feel too invested in much of the else of the DC universe that's going on right now. Nothing else is really grabbing me other than Batwoman and Back on the Birds of Prey. That's all I'm really getting going forward.
Yeah, I thought you said that, and I thought, wow, I didn't think you were getting it at all. But I'm about the same boat. I may keep Flash a little bit longer. What I am enjoying is Batman, Justice League, and Justice League America well enough. Justice League America hasn't bowled me over yet, but I still do enjoy Justice League. I'm still loving Titans and what they're doing as Wally's coming into the fold still.
Yeah, and that was the other book I was getting for a while because it did have ties to, well, of course, it was Wally West, who's one of my favorite characters of all time, and him coming back. And it's really the only place you're going to get Wally West stories right now in the DC Rebirth universe.
Right.
That being said, I didn't care for actually, what started, I think, this week, the Lazarus
Contract.
Crossover thing, yeah.
Crossover. It's like, oh, guys, a crossover. So I'm not buying Teen Titans. It's like, all right, that's it. Or Deathstroke, that's it. I'm out.
Yeah, Chris was excited, though.
I know he was excited, so maybe he can get me excited again.
Beast fan that he is.
Decided to give that a try. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I went in and ordered those issues to read that whole arc, too. So we'll see how that pans out.
Well, again, I wish for good things, but it just wasn't.
Yeah.
I just got my old man. Oh, crossover. That's where I jump off.
But I agree with you that's and Birds of Prey, Batman, Justice League, Titans. Those are and Flash are the ones I've been following since this whole restart.
The rebirth.
The rebirth. Every now and then I'll still get a Superman issue if something looks interesting. Like I read the whole 4-part crossover of Superman Rebirth that went through with the new villain, the old villain.
Oh,
back.
right.
And there are other things that I just pick and choose when I see something interesting. Mm-hmm. But overall, those are really all I get anymore from DC.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go any further, let's talk about our sponsor for this episode. This episode is brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. Because right away, from them, when you pre-order any DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, or Image book, they are 40% off the cover price.
Woohoo!
Yeah, woohoo, exactly. Mm-hmm. Most other publishers between 20 and 35% off cover price. And they do run many specials during them each month, where they have sometimes 45, 50, 60, even sometimes up to 75% off cover price. They continue to run many bundles of like titles together at one low price, and they continue with their Rebirth bundles. They're still having
I know, that's amazing.
many for usually about half off the cover
Yeah.
price of Rebirth bundles.
Part of me does wish I could still get that just because it's half off.
Well, that's what they
everything,
do. They want you to keep
but
getting
I know, and that's fine, man. I get it.
I had to stop.
But I stopped.
I had to stop.
But that's such a great deal after all this time.
And one of the other great deals, any new DC or Marvel trade or hardcovers are half off
I love
cover
that too.
price.
I take advantage of that every chance
Yes.
I can.
And they can ship them with bags and boards. You can get your books weekly, twice monthly, or monthly. We've used them for quite a long time. We love them. They're great. Check them out. Discounts Comic Book Service, dcbservice.com.
I think I am 4 months in a row ordering within the first week.
Wow.
Place on my order right away because I've gotten the way I have about my ordering.
And what is that?
The way you have.
Because I don't order as much right now. Not necessarily, more because of finances, because of anything else. But I just set in my mind that I'm going to get it out of the way every month. I look through previews. I put my order in. Sometimes I edit it and add stuff. Sometimes I take bigger items away that I thought I could afford and I can't. But every week, every month, man, that first week, boom, my order's in. I'm really trying to make a point not to wait till the last minute.
But you can, because you can always add things to your order.
You can.
All right. Well, let's just get started. I'm going to, as I usually do for these type of things, read more or less what the original solicit was for this storyline. Of course, as I mentioned, it's between Batman and Flash, issues 21 to 22. The Button. The cataclysmic events of DC Universe Rebirth #1 continue here. The Dark Knight and the fastest man alive, the two greatest detectives on any world, unite to explore the mystery behind a certain blood-stained smiley button embedded in the Batcave wall. What starts as a simple investigation turns deadly when the secrets of the button prove irresistible to an unwelcome third party. And it's not who anyone suspects. Well, I didn't even have an idea, but anyway. It's a mystery woven through time, and that ticking clock starts here. And originally it was Tom King writing the Batman issues with art by Jason Fabok, and Joshua Williamson writing the Flash issues with art by Howard Porter. Now, for the Batman 22 issue, actually it is more Joshua Williamson writing with Tom King helping out with the story.
Yeah.
And actually also a big thanks overall. I think we're giving the credits to Jeff Johns as well.
Sure.
All right. So overall thoughts on this, gentlemen?
I liked it well enough. I thought that the issues read awfully fast.
No pun intended.
Yeah, not that I expected a lot of meat or an extra-sized issue or anything. I was just reading through each issue, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, that's the end of that. Not good or bad, just I thought that there would be a little bit more explanation about some things. But if there was more explanation about some things, maybe we'd all be sitting here, oh, that was too much, and I wish it was shorter.
You can't please us, can you?
No, and that's, we're fickle dipsticks. So, no, I was pretty happy with it. I loved, somebody had commented either on Facebook or a forum, it might have even been just in a DC article somewhere. I loved the 9-panel layout through issue 21.
Right. Clearly an homage to the style of the Watchmen art.
It was a lot of fun. And I know, like, the old Justice Leagues that I love from the Giffen de Mateus era, they used a lot of 9 panels with lots of pretty pictures and explanations. I just appreciate that as a layout when it serves its purpose. And I think it was done very well in this, from my taste.
Oh, me?
Well, sure. Why not?
Yeah, that's true. I'm here. I might as well open my mouth.
Please.
Yeah, it's. I agree with you for the most part there, Shane. It was an enjoyable story. It kept me engaged while I was in it, so to speak. It was on a storytelling level. It was decent. It was there were some moments of genuine, gripping emotional power. I think the third part, the journey back to the Flashpoint world, where Bruce and his father got to stand shoulder to shoulder, again, so to speak, because neat detail of Jason Fabok's art was that you could see that Thomas Wayne was about a head taller than his son. So you can understand what Bruce means when he says his father had a presence. And you could believe Presence!
I'm sorry.
You silly man. No gift wrapping involved. He had a presence about him, and you could believe that this is a man whose death would have had such a powerful impact on young Bruce and would drive him into a life of vigilantism upon said death. So, yes, the mysteries are being revisited and sustained and, touched back on, the things that had been introduced in the DCU Rebirth one-shot, and not much. I won't say nothing, since there have been one or two little teases here and there. But little has been done with over the course of the past year, and it has been just about a year since DCU Rebirth was released. So it's kind of like a little forum thread bump to remind people of, oh, hey, remember Saturn Girl in Arkham Asylum? Yeah, remember Johnny Thunder losing the Justice Society?
I did completely forget about Saturn Girl in Arkham Asylum.
But there she is in Batman number 21 and getting all in a tizzy about this hockey game. Interesting little device that Tom King threw in there. And somebody was supposed to die during that hockey game. And I think we're led to believe that one of the hockey players dies on the ice. But I think we're supposed to understand it was the unwelcome third party that she's probably most concerned about. And, well, all told, I'm with you, Shane, in that I thought, perhaps foolishly, that we were going to get more revelations than we got here. Yeah. And so this is ultimately, it's as I said, it kept me engaged during the course of the 4 issues. There's some well-told emotional moments, but taking a step back afterwards and looking at it with a more pragmatic and also more parsimonious eye, all I could
parsimonious
cheap.
Eye.
Yes.
Well, no, I wasn't
frugal.
Wow.
I was looking at it not as a comic fan so much as a comic buyer. I mean, I had the same complaint that Matt and I very often do have these days after reading one of these major event-type stories, which is, namely, that it could have been told in a much more condensed form. Of course, Matt is accustomed to reading all these stories in the form of a Wikipedia article, so
we're not going to go there.
Yeah, it's best we don't.
As I sit here and shake my head.
We'll start breaking things. Yeah. But, there was a little bit of fat that probably could have been trimmed. And I actually see this as kind of like maybe even like an extra-size special, not quite as big or important as the DCU Rebirth Special of last year, but it could have been like a double-sized annual. I'm thinking kind of like that Welcome Back to Earth 2 annual from the Justice Society several years ago, because this is kind of like Welcome Back to Flashpoint.
Yeah.
It's Batman getting to visit his father as Batman in the Flashpoint reality briefly, and as I said, that's probably the strongest of the 4 chapters of this story, and the one that had the least fat in it that could have been trimmed out. Yeah. But the rest of it, the stuff that's just meant to, it's basically just a 4-part teaser for reminding us of mysteries that were introduced in DCU Rebirth without really advancing them too far. And the epilogue, air quotes around it, from the chapter 4 is really more of an epiplug because it had no story content whatsoever. It was just a bunch of little images juxtaposing the button with the Superman shield and saying, "Hey, Doomsday Clock!" There's that loaded word Doomsday in it. Expected to strike in November with writing by Jeff Johns and art by Gary Frank. So it's a team that's been associated with Superman in the past few years. It's not a bad story, but could have been better.
I guess when I think about it more, after listening to you talk, I liked both Batman issues a little bit better than both Flash issues. I didn't really think of it as Batman issues versus Flash issues. I thought of it more as part 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when it comes down to it, I liked how they did the fight in 1 minute in Batman 21.
Ah, yes, a very extended fight sequence.
Yeah, and again, because I like stuff that happens in the Flash TV shows, both the 90s, which I just watched the pilot of, and the new one, to be able to see fight scenes like that, I liked that in this first issue, but I know a lot of people probably had a problem with it. Maybe they didn't. I loved that Bruce got to visit with his dad, in spite of everything that's happened with my dad. I would have been sappy about that issue no matter what.
Well, we know that's a weakness of yours.
It totally is. So I loved that whole issue. It's probably my favorite of all 3 of them because it was something that I didn't expect them to do. Never did I think that we'd go back to Flashpoint and actually have Bruce and Thomas talking to each other. That was a lot of fun for me. I get where normal DC universe, that probably wouldn't have happened. all pre-Flashpoint stuff that seems ridiculous. But for this, it was a lot of fun for me to watch.
My kryptonite are these kind of stories where you see things that happened in the past, homages to old stories, crisis references, the hyper time thing.
Oh my God!
He dropped the word hyper.
He dropped the word hyper
The
time.
siren call of hyper time.
Great.
I loved hyper time.
If Barry stopped at that moment to think about it, he'd wonder why he even knew that word.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
that was great.
So I'm sorry for Young, but those kind of moments, regardless of story or content, I just dig the hell out of those things. The Justice League, the Lost and Found.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do when we get to that, like an Easter egg, like what's what. I saw a few things
when they
there.
had Beatles bug up there, I'm like,
There's so many things in there. I mean, that's, beside the point. I just love those visual Easter eggs. But, yeah, I can see everyone's points there. And, yeah, I would have liked to see maybe some more stuff coming out of DC Rebirth. But, hey, we got what we got. It's been a year. You see Dr. Manhattan's hand in this storyline. We get. And when I picked up issue 4 of this story in the stands, I was so angry because of the cover image.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit
would
weird.
have just exploded with glee when I saw Jay Garrick's full-page splash in issue 4 of this series, had I not been spoiled by the cover.
Yeah.
That's true. And as we've determined, both the variant and the regular cover have Jay Garrick front and center on
And the
them.
only thing I thought with having the cover, which is actually the variant cover, is that he's all shaded. So there was a tiny bit of me that thought that's somebody else or an evil Flash.
That's what I
And
had,
I'm like, okay, so we're not spoiled. But
could have
then
been
she
Edward
gets-
Claris. It could be the rival Flash.
Yeah.
Right. On the regular cover, you see the homage, or not the Flash Comics issue 1 in the background,
Right.
where the Flash is like zooming through in flames, and he's in silhouette. His eyes are all like glowing.
Yep.
It's like, oh my God, it's an evil Flash. What's going on?
there's something else going on. But till we get to
when
the end.
when you open up the first page of issue 4, you see the Flash logo in the dialogue boxes, and it's like, well, it's clearly not Barry who's talking or
Right.
Wally. It's like, oh, it's got to be Jay because of the cover. But anyway,
Yep.
that really did anger me quite. I shouldn't say anger, but it frustrated me because
Sure.
I love these kind of reveals in books. Like when I saw Wally West in DC Rebirth, good God, forget about it. I'm just on the floor.
And
my
that,
God, it's
that
awesome. But
one issue you picked up at the con that DC was giving out had Wally right on the cover.
yeah. But so those kind of moments, unfortunately, are few and far between of not being spoiled by them, whether
Sure.
it's the internet or even on the cover, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they figured that was one spoiler that might sell a few copies.
Well, clearly. But anyway, all right, guys, let's sort of like dive into just random thoughts on the whole book. Like, well, we talked about let's start at the very beginning. Batman 21, the clear homage to the Watchmen storytelling.
Yep.
Absolutely, loved the artwork on this issue. Jason Fabok really knocked it out, and
It was one of my best of nominees from a couple of years ago.
yeah, and just that fight scene. You mentioned the minute, the color schemes, the reverses, if you will. I was reading online several different things about the artwork, and if you notice on the page where Batman spits blood in Reverse Flash's face, the blood splatter across Reverse Flash's face is the reverse image of the blood splatter on the button. Let's see, it's in the middle of the book, the third panel, the 42-second mark.
Okay. Onward.
Yes. So, I mean, little things like that. Again, just...
I didn't even catch that part. Oh, that's fun.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I really dug it, and it was a great start to the series, I thought.
Well, and see, also through that battle, what I also like, and this is just me being a Batman fan, I like any time you can spend an exuberant amount of time in the Batcave, whether it's panning around looking at things. I love that page where you have all the smiley face buttons on the multitude of screens for his Bat computer, because it's a little bit further away of a shot. I know they're probably not all necessary. Most interpretations don't have 500 screens, but but I like it.
I was thinking that too. It looks cool. Though.
It looks cool,
if
but
you're
it's
being realistic, though, Batman probably wouldn't bother to have that same tiny button up on that many different screens.
This is from Jason Fabok's blog. He says, I wanted to have a consistent visual of the Watchmen button looming over Batman for the entire issue. So I decided to make the back computer extra big
Nice.
with many more screens than necessary and have the button image on the screens every time you see it.
See, now that's great to get an explanation about that. That's awesome.
There's no denying the effect.
I also like in that page with the 44-second to the 38-second, you get a top view of consistent panels in the middle of the Batcave as he's getting beat up by Reverse Flash going through there.
Oh,
but you can still see above.
The Reverse Flash showed up, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I guess
We've been
did.
sort of tiptoeing around that, but we said spoilers at the beginning. So,
Yes.
Yep, it was Reverse Flash.
Yeah, but I mean, because, obviously he had his neck broken way back in, Flash 275, I think, in the
He
Bronze
gloats
Age, but-
over Barry, like I think it's in Chapter 4. He says, how many times have I been killed? You snapped
Right.
my neck. Thomas Wayne put a sword through my
And there's
back.
a Flashpoint,
What does all of
yeah.
this mean to a living paradox? No
Exactly.
beginning and no end until I decide to put it all back
Right.
together.
But, of course, then at the very end, you see, he's,
He's Grizzle.
yeah,
yeah, because he, as he puts
saw
it,
God.
God. And
with a capital G.
sucked the
That rhymes
bravado.
with dum, dum, dum.
Yeah. We got trouble right here in Gotham City.
There is no opposition on your genius switch,
Not
sir.
when it comes to music man
Oh,
references,
my
my friend.
God.
I did like when he ripped up Thomas's letter that Bruce kept. I know, Matt had a problem with that always. I always liked it, but boy, gosh, Reverse Flash ripping up
He
that
is
letter,
a
I was
real
pissed.
sadistic bastard.
Yeah.
I think did Comfort and Adam compared him and his agendas over the past few years of Flash comics, starting with the revenge in reverse of his killing Nora Allen. The robot chicken bit dicks with time machines. He's a dick who is a time machine. Tearing up the letter like that.
Terrible.
Sadistic jerk. And yes, we've got plenty of those 9-panel grids.
Yeah, that was great.
This issue is the Tom Kingiest issue of the 4, as you've observed, Shane.
Well, since he actually did the official script for this.
Right.
And
it
what a
becomes
great-
more and more Josh Williamson from there.
What a great visual when you get later when Reverse Flash picks up the button and zooms out, and you see the 3 panels of screens pretty much unchanged, and then all of a sudden he comes back and he's dying, doom. Just, I like the visuals you get from that. Every panel of his more decay,
Right.
and then the pullback to see everything through, again, a wide view of the Batcave.
It's to bring
of
across
course-
the tortuously slow passage of time
Yeah.
during the several long seconds that he's away. And then he comes back from seeing God and dies.
Yeah, and kudos to Brad Anderson for the coloring on this issue.
Oh, outstanding.
Especially, with that, you mentioned the whole Reverse Flash when he pops back in, the Dr. Manhattan-ish light, color scheme. And, of course, the whole red and black and with the fist cuffs. Just great stuff. And, was there any... Oh, and, of course, there were so many different covers. I never saw any of the lenticular covers in person. But it would have been kind of cool because on the main Batman cover, of course, you have the Flash and Batman half down the middle with holding the button, and I guess it went back and forth on the lenticular cover.
Okay, between them being fully...
Yeah.
Fully Batman and fully Flash.
Yeah. Good gosh, Mike. All right.
I had them on my order. I took them off the order. I had them on the order. I took them off the order. And I just went with regular covers. I thought, no, I'm not getting sucked in. I'm sure that's cool. I would have done it in the past. No lenticular covers. No extra variant covers. Even for part 4 or something, I did it again. I'm like, well, both covers. No, not both covers. One cover. I was a good boy. Good boy.
All right. On to the...
One more note before
certainly,
we go.
absolutely.
That's kind of an opportunity to pat ourselves on the back for a second here.
Okay.
Tom King is very generous as far as admitting in public fora as to where some of his ideas have come from.
Yes.
Just recently, our friend Julian Lytle,
Yes.
is an artist of Ants, the webcomic, lives in the D.C. area, as does Tom himself. Tom mentioned in an interview that a conversation with Julian at a con is what inspired him to conceive one of the storytelling devices he'll be using in his upcoming Mr. Miracle series. He'll be seeing lots of black panels with Darkseid is in the middle, and that came from a conversation with Julian. Yes. Tom has told me that it was he was us here on Comic Geek Speak who impressed on him the import and the impact of the 9-panel grid
Oh,
to
get out.
various different 80s comics texts.
Oh,
so he used it in Omega Men, and he's using it again here to evoke Watchmen.
Yes,
That's awesome.
He is far too kind. Yes. All right, on to part 2, which is Flash 21. And again, we start out again with a reference back.
Do you have the same cover I have?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, it's with the Reverse Flash disintegrating as he reaches out towards the Watchmen button. And I believe the lenticular image is more of a fully not disintegrated image of the Reverse Flash.
Okay.
But again, first page harkens back, if you will, to the DC Rebirth with the Johnny Thunder and then talking about his Thunderbolt.
Here again, forgot he was in that too. I really should have, before I read any of the button, I should have gone back and reread that before this.
Well, you don't necessarily have to.
No, but there's stuff that I forgot that happened in there, and I shouldn't. I
think
shouldn't have.
the creators are assuming that everybody's forgotten most of the things
sure
that
they did.
that they established in that one shot and haven't gotten around to doing anything with yet.
God, did I love this second and third page spreadsheet with then the silhouettes of the fight from the previous issue.
Right, as reconstructed by Barry's forensic memory.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Barry's inner monologue throughout most of the back half of this story, because the way he goes on about what he and Batman have in common, their love of forensics and investigation. They were the only two members of the Justice League who could discuss that kind of thing.
And I never really thought of that until that issue, or at least I forgot about it possibly. Even watching Flash on TV and even reading as many Flash comics as I did, knowing what he does, it never dawned on me that they probably did have a pretty good kindred spirit between the two of them detecting.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever really seen that told in comics before. I mean,
No.
of course, you had more Flash and Green Lantern. But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you there, Adam.
Well, it's just I was just going to, on the same note, I've been a little more sensitive to Batman and Barry Allen relationship because, specific reason here, when Matt and I were both in high school, we used to talk about what would happen if we assigned Justice League identities to each member of our little circle of friends at that time. And so we were the only two who read comics from that circle. But Matt was, of course, Batman, and I kind of gave myself Barry Allen.
Oh,
Nice.
I think for our little CGS circle, I'm more like an Aquaman, because you've got Barry sewn up over there, Brian.
oh, stop it.
But yeah, so I do remember one or two sort of Bronze Age-ish Batman and Flash team-ups. And there was that Mark Waid-written Silver Age 5th Week event from
Yes.
like 1999. And there was one story in which the Batman and Barry Allen relationship was explored in some little detail.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I really enjoyed that dynamic in this issue. The whole scene where Bruce is recovering from his injuries, talking about to do this, to do this, to do that with it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, who are you talking to? He says pretty much, Bruce.
Yeah, but you can feel the rapport between
Well,
the
sure,
two.
exactly.
I do give Williamson, and I guess to some extent Tom King too, credit for fleshing that out better than probably any other comic has to
Yeah.
date.
And it first dawned on me when, at the end of Flashpoint, when Barry went to visit Bruce. And then it hit me. But again, because it's not in every story, I kind of forgot about it. And then to see it come through again on this, I'm like, oh, of course. Well, that makes perfect sense. It was a lot of fun to see.
All right, can we go to that Justice League Watchtower page now? Where we
Yeah, I
have
just turned to
you
it.
just turned
I
to
did-
it?
I
Okay.
did just turn to it.
So, yes, the Lost and Found. All right, so without any reference in front of me, obviously we see the Bug in there. We see, looks like, is there Skeets in the lower right corner?
Yeah, that's a Skeets.
I think, is that the Orb of Ra on the table? And is that the bell, candle, and jar?
If you mean the red jar of Calathos, the silver wheel of Nyarlath, and the green bell of Uthul, then yes.
Man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, I
I
should
think
have.
they miscolored them, though. That the jar is green and the bell is red, and that's...
How about Our Man's Time Boat?
oh, yes.
Yes.
No mistaking that.
Martian Manhunter's outfit.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd.
Have we seen him in the DC Rebirth?
Have we seen the character at all?
Yes. More rhetorical than anything. 'cause
Yeah,
I
not
don't know.
not
I'm
wearing
not
that
sure that we
costume,
have.
because that's really more like his pre-Flashpoint costume.
Yeah.
Let's see, I see Sargon the Sorcerer's outfit down there.
Is that Fate's helmet there on the right-hand side? Or is that another helmet you just seen the back of?
It almost has to be somebody else's helmet, because Fate is using his helmet
Well,
these
that's
days.
what I thought, but kind of odd that it was there.
I see the Blue Devil's Trident over there towards the left.
A Wonder Woman shield?
Yep.
Or a Donna Troy shield? I don't know what that would be there for.
Amazonian in origin, anyway.
Help me out on the book in the front.
With a little wand. Oh, a wand that appears to be pulsing. Oh, you know what? This was drawn by. Was this drawn by Porter? It was.
Yes.
He must have been a fan of Our Man because I'm pretty sure this glowing thing in the box right behind the book, that's the Whirlogoth.
Yeah, yes,
that's
it is.
Thing that the android Our Man absorbed into himself.
Yep.
The book, I'm thinking probably the Eternity book.
Okay.
Is that the dial H? Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
A Lobo's chain there is
okay.
his
All
mute
right,
book,
that
whatever
makes
he calls
sense.
it.
Now it looks like
Starman's Cosmic Rod.
it
the
looks like
Golden
on the top there, next to that little rocket on the middle. Is that looks like a Pope's outfit? I see. It looks like
With a mitre.
yeah, but what could that possibly be?
Perhaps Pope Francis is a member of the Justice League?
I don't know.
In DC Rebirth?
But anyway, just a cool thing. It's like, I love that stuff.
Phantom Zone projector, of course.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, like we can go on for that forever. We're never talking about like Easter eggs galore.
What's the little gem here?
Okay. See, we are going to keep going.
I know we are.
Well, that's fine.
Because right below that, I would say that's Golden Age Starman's Cosmic Rod. But what's the little gem that's attached to a cape or a necklace or a sash right above it?
Yeah, by itself, I'm not placing it, Shane.
Okay.
It looks like it's on kind of a neck strap,
Yeah.
worn like an amulet.
You think that's a key from the villain, the key?
Most likely, probably one of his key blasters. And that I'm wondering if maybe this cowl, this cloak and hood next to Sargon's might be Pandora's.
Oh, that could be.
That's something that hasn't really been revisited either since DCU Rebirth, her being killed by something.
And that might be Green Lantern's lantern from the Tangent Universe.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Okay. In the bottom
Yeah,
left-hand corner.
Wow. Good eyes there. My goodness.
Well, I miss the chalkboards. I miss the
Right.
the rooms like this that we used to see so much more.
And we do see a little bit more of the room, like when he's running to go get the. First of all, like, how about the cosmic treadmill coming back again?
Yeah, that was awesome.
You see,
Oh yeah,
the original Our Man's outfit with
Star Spangled Kid.
Yeah.
Who do you think the Green
Ah,
Man is?
there's a Kirby dot. Did you see the Kirby dot in there?
Oh,
Oh yeah, right. Yeah,
It says
right.
Kirby dot. I just saw that now.
yeah, that one's pretty much telegraphed to us, isn't it? Yeah,
I love it.
I don't know, maybe
What does
Doctor.
it say? God, even with my glasses, I can hardly read that Kirby dot. That's awesome.
Anyway, so he pulls out the cosmic treadmill. The cosmic treadmill again.
And even being near it, it looks like it's all zoomy and glowy with power.
And then when Batman comes in again, we see more Easter eggs. There's a
Love the Starros.
starfish. I think I see a Prometheus costume in the back.
Oh yeah, that distinctive eye
Knight.
grill.
There's a Green Lantern ring, I think, in the case.
Wow.
All right. Well, anyway, we move on, and they hop on the treadmill, Batman and Flash, and just the flashes, no pun intended, of what's going on in the background. We see, of course, the forming of the Justice League from the Silver Age. Then you jump to the events from Identity Crisis with the Mind Wipe.
Yeah.
And the old Justice League, I think 168. Of course, Crisis reference there with Barry and Bruce there with the world is dying.
Now, so at the top of that page, you're right. The forming of the Justice League, you go to the next one, kind of in order. Then Identity Crisis is out of order with the Crisis on Infinite Earth reference. I wonder why.
The image there is from Justice League 168 era with the body, the Mind Wipe.
Oh,
Right, the
okay.
story that Meltzer drew on as part of
Right,
his...
I mean, the Mind Wipe.
Right.
Actually, we sort of retcon into it, but that whole storyline.
Takes place before. Yeah, all right. I see
I
what
think
you're
the
saying.
Secret Society supervillains was in that storyline. if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
yes, led by the Wizard
Yeah.
from Earth 2. And yes, the idea was they did a mind wipe on them because they learned the JLA's
Like a body swap
secret
kind of
identities
thing.
at that time.
Right.
It would have been nice if a couple of those Silver Age scenes at the top, maybe one of them had Wonder Woman in it and the other one Black Canary instead, to pay homage to the post-crisis reality that was temporarily in place.
But I dug that they had the Batman with the old logo on his chest.
Multiple different logos.
But then the treadmill crashes in the Batcave, which looks familiar to Bruce because, of course, it's the Flashpoint Batcave.
Yeah, that was
On to part 3,
That's a good issue.
Batman 22. Now, again, from Jason Fabok's blog, he says, well, issue 21 was drawn to pay homage to Watchmen with the 9-panel grids. Issue 22 was drawn more like an issue of Flashpoint.
Oh, okay.
And
Which that makes sense.
Yeah. Now the main cover I have here is, of course, Thomas Wayne standing over the bodies of Martha and Bruce, and I think the lenticular cover has with the Reverse Flash standing over.
Okay.
them. But anyway, jumping into part 3, we see sort of the background of what happened with Flashpoint.
This issue, among other things, just strikes me as kind of a classic parallel Earth story. Because even though the issue is at pains to tell us that Flashpoint was never an alternate world, was an alternate history, it just reminds me a lot of the little self-contained junkets to Earth 2 that we used to get back in like the Silver and Bronze ages. Bronze more than silver because it's just so dark in tone.
And I must say, going back looking at it now, again, like with the Kirby dot, I just noticed right now the page 4 splash with Bruce and Barry in the Batcave.
Yep.
In the background, between Barry's legs, there's Thomas Wayne sitting there. I didn't notice it before because I was so drawn to their images in the full.
And it's a scene from the last chapter, just seen from a different perspective.
I understand, but I didn't recognize that scene.
And I know
Thomas in the back.
I'm sure this isn't meant this way, but because of my love of the 60s Batman, I take it this way, even though this is not a villain's lair. I like the few panels we see of slanted
the Dutch tilt.
images. Yeah. It doesn't matter what context it's in a book, I always think.
Your mind goes straight to 1966.
It sure does. And again, here, a good view of what Thomas's Batcave looks like. I mean, I know we saw it in Flashpoint, but there's a few panels here that show different pull-away shots of what's in his Batcave, which is hardly anything compared to what Bruce has in his Batcave.
Right. Bruce remarked it looked like the Batcave did when he first got started, before he even officially became Batman.
Yep. Just a nice juxtaposition to what we see in the first part.
Like the panel on the top of page 6 where Thomas Wayne goes a little nuts and grabs Barry by the throat and says, "This isn't real."
Yeah.
Tiny bit of meta-commentary there since, well, for one thing, none of this is real. It's a comic book.
Wait, what?
And
What?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. The illusion is shattered.
I should have held my peace. We were going to have to tell you sooner or later, Brian.
Yeah.
You're probably old enough to know.
We have some more cookies for you.
Ooh.
Here, look, cookie.
But yeah, just the notion that the denizens of alternate realities or alternate histories deserve to be taken as seriously as those of the mainstream realities.
Yes.
I mean, they're not. They are characters in their own right. They don't really deserve, in a sense, to have their lives monkeyed with as callously as the creators of comics tend to. So a bit of existential pathos there.
Existential pathos. I'll remember that.
You do.
I do.
You do.
But one of the things I wanted to ask you, Adam, and it seems obvious to me, but maybe it's not, is this, what we see later on in the issue, what's happening to the city, is that a wave of antimatter?
I noticed that too. And it just seems to me that, also, since the natural primordial pre-existent state of comic book reality is a blank page, which is something that Perez and Wolfman tapped into in Crisis on Infinite Earths and used to such great effect, it seems that every time we see realities unraveling, for whatever reason, antimatter or otherwise, in a DC comic, it always seems to take that form.
Right.
So I don't think it's literally a wave of antimatter that we see destroying everything. It just happens to look that way because that's kind of become the convention.
Now, weren't antimatter waves usually
Don't look at me, look at him.
Precursored with the red skies, though?
Red skies, natural disasters, all that. And Pariah showing up and screaming, yeah.
Even Pariah aside, I didn't take that as antimatter because I didn't see the red skies behind.
Yeah, the effect doesn't look quite the same. It might just be creative license on Jason Fabok's part, but I didn't. It occurred to me that it looked a lot like an antimatter wave, but I dismissed that or discounted that as a possibility.
Well, again, from Jason Fabok's blog, this book was also drawn very, very quick. I believe I did 9 pages in 1 week to finish the book.
Holy cow!
Still looks great.
Luckily, Joshua Williamson had pity on me and gave me a few pages of white and no background to help me hit deadline.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if it was more of just a convenience like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love things like this, discussions like this, because to me, I thought antimatter.
Even watching the old Batman animated series, no matter when I watch it, they always have red skies, and I always think, there's a crisis coming. Even though it never happens. It's the animated series. But it always struck me as funny that every setting had red skies
Yeah,
in that universe.
That always kind of puzzled me. But if you read some like Batman comics from like the 80s, it did for whatever reason they were supposed to bring across light pollution or something.
Sure,
The
sure.
skies always kind of look reddish there too.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably where the TV
Oh, it totally is.
animation red skies came
It
from
just,
too.
just my mind always thought, oh, crisis.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed those later episodes of the Batman animated series more if there were more shadow demons and anti-monitors and parallelists.
Wouldn't we all? I like how Bruce and Thomas get to team up
Yep.
and really go at it.
Yeah, there's that scene where Bruce batarangs the pistol out of his father's hand.
Yeah.
It hadn't really hit me as Bruce's aversion to guns, but yeah, it serves a double good eye there, Shane.
It does, even though he doesn't say it, which is what I kind of thought he would say something like, even if it was just a simple, again, in the Kevin Conroy voice, no guns. just a whip, no guns, we're all leaving together, and then move on.
Right.
I
Ostensibly, he's disarming him just to try to convince him into coming along
Yeah.
instead of sacrificing himself. But yeah, I totally see your...
I just would have liked
point,
that
too.
one little line of no guns.
I
But it's fine.
The bottom when the two of them are about ready to wade into the horde of Amazons, and Bruce puts on his cowl and says, "Fists it is." Your mother was more the plan ahead type. If only we knew a little bit more about Martha Kane Wayne.
Great splash page and panels at the bottom of things going on during the fight, and Barry finishing the repair of the cosmic treadmill. And to me, a little bit, maybe not intended, but a little bit, some of these silhouettes for Batman and Thomas fighting look somewhat Dark Knight Returns-ish
They kind
to
of
me,
do.
with the blue-gray background.
Yeah, I see that. I also see some Brian Boland in the
Sure.
the Barry panels along that same row.
Oh, yeah, now you mentioned it. Good Lord,
Again,
yes.
intentionally or not, it's just nice that we can
we
think in this.
well, sure.
Well, this sort of story is just a perfect spot for homages.
Yes. But as we get a little further into the issue, when Thomas pushes Bruce onto the treadmill, you get that speech in the second panel. I don't have the page in front of me, but he's saying, "Don't be Batman. Find happiness, please. You don't have to do this. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for your mother. Be a father for your son in a way I never could be for you. Let the Batman die with me." Wow. I mean, I never thought I would have heard something like that. It is pretty powerful, and it sticks with Bruce.
Oh, sure.
Later on, we see it in the next issue.
And I forgot to say in the beginning of this issue when he says, or the last issue, God, what do we even? Yeah, this one, where
22.
he says, "You're a grandfather."
Yes, well, that's where this comes from. It's just, be a father for your son in a way I never could be for you.
Yeah.
And he actually is, because he's being a vigilante father and a combat trainer for his son. And Thomas Wayne certainly couldn't have done that for Bruce.
Well, and even the last three panels, Batman's reaching out, screaming, "We can save you," and you already did, or you have.
Visceral moments. That image in the center of that page with the vanishing treadmill and Bruce shouting out, "We can save you." That felt more like Crisis than anything else in the issue, including the white walls of antimatter. Just had the same kind of emotional appeal that Crisis had.
Yeah. And then even here, where the next page, where Thomas is thinking back to when he pulled Bruce out of the cave when he fell in it as a boy. Just to me, a very sweet page. And that last panel, that little discussion, kind of going back to what was in Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. Why do we fall?
Yep. But then that next page is what really made me think. It's sort of like with, in issue 1 of Crisis, when Ultraman just sort of flies into the anthem. That's what I really felt with, was We Rise, and you'd see him just going in there, knowing.
Another good call.
Yeah. Just love this. And again, the artwork on this thing is outstanding. I just love this art.
Yeah, especially knowing he did that many pages that quick a time.
Has this made fans of Fabok of the two of you?
Well, yeah, clearly, yes.
Well, you should have seen some Fabok work. He did the Dark Side War in the Justice League title, too.
Oh, yeah, and that was outstanding. I love that story. It was a lot of fun.
Actually, so do I. I'm not happy of what a hash it made of the anti-monitor, but...
No, but overall, I did.
It was a good crime syndicate story, anyway.
Yeah, it sure was.
And then as the treadmill is going back through time again, we see Reverse Flash all of a sudden. Hey, what are you doing here?
And great perspectives.
Harder to kill than a time-traveling cockroach.
Great perspectives on a front view, a side view, discussion with Batman and Barry, and then a really good pullback view, watching Reverse Flash pull away a little bit.
It's gorgeous. And he's racing after the button. And he grabs onto it. Oh, great image.
Button, he's got the button.
You have no idea the things I've seen, Alan, the places I've been. I know who the power of the button belongs to, and they've never faced someone like me. Of course, this, and Bruce, I think, discusses it in the next issue, that in the moment that, in the first part, you see Reverse Flash disappear and comes back, who knows what happened during that time frame there? We're getting an inkling of this, but
Yeah.
I'm just curious if we're ever going to reveal, the things he's seen.
I hope we do. Even if it's somehow explained in an issue as a spread page, and you see everything in very crisis-like background images of what happened to Reverse Flash as he ran.
You remember that arc in Action Comics a bunch of years ago, written by Paul Cornell, starring Luthor? It was called The Black Ring.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
They could do a story like that, starring Eobard Thawne
Yeah.
and his travels through time.
Yeah.
I would read that.
Even a backup in something if they would bring back a second mini story.
I think it's high time we dug a little deeper into his psyche and made him more than just a dick who is a time machine.
Yeah.
All right, so on to the button part 4 with Flash 22. Again, we've already discussed about the spoilerage on the cover, which but Fressen. Yeah, and the discussions as Thawne is taunting Barry. Oh, man, he goes, I have an idea, Barry. The night your mother dies, I'm going to be there. A social worker or a lifelong neighbor, a friend. I'll take you in, raise you as my own, make you my son, and look at the image on his face. He is
And through all that, I'm
he's
thinking,
like evil incarnate. What a bitch.
I'm thinking ass.
Yeah.
You ass.
Oh, my God. There's, of course, the Hyper Time shout out there at the top of the page there. The Siren Calls of Hyper Time. Oh, I love the Siren Calls of Hyper Time.
I did. I plotzed right there, man. That was
Plotzed.
great. I could not believe they brought back the Hyper Time word. Because, like you said, I love that storyline. I love what they could have done with Hyper Time.
Very underused.
Yes,
I
it
only
was.
really recall the one Superboy storyline
And that was a great story.
It was a great storyline.
Yep, there was one or two other instances beyond that, but yeah,
Right.
for the most part, it was a little too high concept for most of the people working at DC at the time. It was kind of allowed to go.
Yeah.
It was even
Yeah.
a naughty word, I think, after you couldn't really even say it. you know?
Right, which is
No,
why
they
I'm kind of
didn't
thinking that
allude
if
to it
Dan
for a
DiDio
while.
had noticed this in this script, he might have.
What's that doing there? Let's X that out.
But yeah, it makes us happy.
It sure
It
does.
sure does. Ah, yes. And, this image, I don't have the page. I'm sorry again. Where the Reverse Flash is just
I do
cradling
miss-
the button here. And
I miss page numbers.
he's cradling the button, and he's like talking about, "Hello, you don't have to feel shy now. I can feel your presence." Yeah, it's just. And then of course, where I'm assuming Dr. Manhattan shows up and says, "No, we don't want you anymore." He goes, "My God."
And suddenly he's not quite as high and mighty.
No, he's not. And he goes, Thawne, he's gone. And then, of course, in the background, all these, you hear Barry, I'm here, Barry. Of course, we now know it's Jay Garrick. Jay freaking Garrick.
Now, see, here's where I thought that they were going to twist it a little bit, and it would have been Johnny Quick. Or,
Well, with the cover, I think there was no...
that's not who I'm thinking of. Max Mercury.
Max
Iris
Mercury.
West Allen from Kingdom Come. That's another possibility.
Or something like just something where
Well,
they're using Jay's outfit.
That
but
would have been, I think... It might have been too confusing to casual
I'm
readers.
sure it might have been.
I think most readers... Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I think a lot of people know about Jay Garrick.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Especially because of the TV
yeah.
show. And by the way, that image of him later on, where that the top, oh God, I got off the page number here, where he goes, "My name is Jay Garrick." That looks just like John Wesley Shipp.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because he's worn the helmet in the Flash TV
Yep,
series.
it's the jawline.
Yeah. Oh, it sure is. Oh.
Jay Garrick's not normally that lantern jawed, but John Wesley Shipp is.
And spoiler for the Flash TV show there for people who haven't caught up to.
Oh, I said spoilers.
Oh, I know.
It covers everything.
It does.
Listen at your own risk.
It should.
So that's a spoiler for last season.
It doesn't matter. I have a friend at work who's finally caught up to where her and her husband watched all of season 1 Flash in the last week and a half because I kept saying, you got to get to episode 19. Get to episode 19. That's the one you want. And they finally did.
But yeah, as you know, Batman and Flash are traveling, just falling through. He reaches out for Jay Garrick. He goes, "I'm free." Oh, and I love you see the image on his helmet, the reflection of Batman and Flash in his helmet on that big splash page. The crack-a-coom. Or I'm sorry, crack-oom.
There you go. I think you pronounced it with only one R, though.
Okay.
It's crack-oom.
And on that next page, the image of Jay pushing Batman and Flash through that. You just,
Push them through time.
You can just feel that. Oh, I love that stuff. Oh, God. Into the Batcave. We're back to the beginning again.
Yep.
And, of course, Barry has no idea who Jay Garrick is.
Right, because he's not the lightning rod Jay is looking for. He cannot be to Jay what he was to Wally.
Right. No, they're exactly. And you mentioned the lightning rod, but it wasn't as powerful as an image as it was in the DC Rebirth, which just knocked me out with the reunion there. But
so now the question, I guess, is what character is going to be his lightning rod? Who can set him free? Is there a Joan Williams in this reality?
Oh, that's a good question.
It could be. Is there a Bart?
Probably not.
That image there from the Rebirth issue that you had.
Yes.
I also love that in Infinite Crisis with Bart. God, I think it's Bart. Not being able to push Superboy through the evil Superboy.
And then Barry
everybody
reaches out.
Oh, my God.
Ugh.
I lost it. I lose it when I listen to the radio drama version. That image there in Rebirth has the same effect on me. Such a fantastic image.
Well, yeah, Jay is here for far too short of a time.
Yeah, I was disappointed by that. What? Since you're spoiling him on the cover, he's got to be there for more than 2 pages. But he wasn't.
Well, a few more than 2 pages, but still, it's just far too short. And of course, the possibilities with the Justice Society coming back, and because we're all giddy about that in the room here. I know.
They're slowly finding ways to undo the least desirable creative decisions they made back in 2011.
Did I say yay?
You did. And I'll like you. Yay!
After that page, that whole splash page with Jay zipping away again, again, another great, from my perspective, another great view of the Batcave. I want to build my own Batcave. God, no, works away. Even if it's miniature, that I can just model around in it, man.
I support your project, Jane. How about a GoFundMe page?
I'm sorely depressed. Can I build a Batcave?
Help a poor man build a pretty dream.
And goddamn, if it wouldn't have a secret bookcase entrance too, let me tell you.
Naturally, with a Shakespeare
bust.
With
a Shakespeare bust. You're right. Oh boy. God, if we were all rich.
And as the action winds down, we see Barry and Bruce visiting the graves of the Waynes, and we get another neat little conversation pointing up the similarities between the two of them. One of the things they have in common is that they've both had childhood tragedy and also, quote, had a glimpse of the alternative, which is nice. Mm-hmm. But I'm still a little miffed because I haven't quite forgiven... It's not something that Barry and Bruce should have in common.
I'm with you there,
Yeah, I know.
Because
Jeff Johns had to go ahead and graft that contrived tragedy onto Barry's life, and he never needed it.
And that's true. He didn't. However, since it is the way it is, I think they've done it well, all things being equal. I agree. It's not needed, but since this is the direction they went with, I don't think that they throw it... I think they actually throw it in your face in the TV show more than they do in any comic that's written. He might mention it, but it's done just a little bit more tasteful, a little bit better in the comics than constantly hearing about it in the
we can even go back. I'm still not 100% convinced Barry should have come back. Barry did more in death than he ever did in life.
You're right. You're right.
That's
there
a whole
too.
other conversation.
That's something Matt's been saying for 20 years.
Because my love for Wally West grew so much out of that tragedy.
Wally definitely is my Flash for all intents and purposes growing up.
Parts of me agrees with you too, Brian.
I love Barry Allen, but it's like he was better in death than he was in life. But hey, that's what we have to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
bring in some good stories.
Again,
we wouldn't get this story we're yapping on about if we didn't have that.
It's fine, but
it's not real.
yeah, it's for our entertainment.
Thank you, fictional character Thomas Wayne, for reminding us of that.
And then again, the 9-panel grid with Bruce in front of the window. The back scene goes, and the dialogue again.
Oh,
Don't be
love that
Batman.
dialogue.
Find happiness. And then are you going to answer that?
And there's his head hanging. Like, no.
Yep, and that's
I really don't know anymore.
every Batman comic for the next 5 months is going to be nothing but that image repeated over and over again.
Yeah.
On multiple panels, just Bruce Wayne standing there not answering the bat signal.
Yeah, and there's an interview that Jeff Johns did on, I think it's for Sci-Fi Wire. It's on Blaster.com. The question is, at the end of Flash 22, Batman sees a signal from the Wayne Manor and questions answering it. And Jeff Johns says, quote, "That's exactly what Manhattan wanted. What he wanted was to get Bruce out of the way."
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't necessarily see that. And there's some great stuff in this. Thank God I read this after.
Oh, right. Because they spoiled
There's a
some
whole
stuff
lot of
in it.
spoilers
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
But
But what a great way to get out one of the best strategists and people who have a plan for everything out of the way.
Yep. And then we go into the button, and we see Dr. Manhattan reach out for the button. The dialogue boxes again goes right back to the Watchmen.
Yeah.
Of course, the epilogue with the button flying through space into Superman, and then of course there's the Doomsday Clock.
And, we could make the same argument that I'm not sure that the DC Universe needs the Watchmen in it.
Well, sure.
But-
Certainly doesn't need it.
This is the way it is. It was a fun story.
It's
enjoyed
a fun story. We've been talking about it. It seems like we're more excited about it now. We talked about it going through issue by issue than we were to start this episode.
I enjoyed the story the whole way through. I really did. I was excited to. I even went out and got the third part because I didn't want to wait for my shipment. And then I know we talked about this. Adam couldn't find that part, so I know I have a copy coming. So I gave him my copy of part 3
to my benefit. So thank you, Shane.
Pants went and got the 4th part for me to read and wants both covers, so he'll get that, and I'll get my regular one in the shipment. But it allowed me to read everything almost real time and be all caught up for my excitement. It was good. It was a good 4-part story.
It's been a long time since any of us, I think, have gone through so much effort just to find the parts of a comic that we're trying to buy off the shelf.
And you have heard now the fruits of our labor on this episode today.
Yeah, that's right. That's very true, because there hasn't been anything in a while that I felt compelled to go to a store to find.
Yeah, well, I didn't even order these from DCBS. I actually went out.
Really?
No, I told you that. I think way back
forgot
when.
about that.
Because I wanted to read them right away. And not be spoiled.
And a lot of local shops underordered, apparently, because
Yeah.
DC required people, shop
through
owners,
hoops,
retailers had to order this many months further in advance than usual.
I misremembered and thought you just didn't bother wanting to read it.
Oh, no, I just wanted to read it, as it came out.
I just misremembered.
Yes. All right, anything else about the button, gentlemen?
Well, to the last page.
Sure.
With the hand of what we're probably supposed to assume is Dr. Manhattan's hand, yes. With
No,
some...
it's that guy from the Blue Man Group.
Oh, okay. Who's radioactive now.
Right.
Well, the very last sentence of the comic, direct quote from the original Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons text, "I'm just a puppet who can see the strings." So what I'm reading into that is, and this is more to do with my own inclinations,
Is
perhaps.
he a real boy?
As real as any other boys. In
The Pinocchio reference. What I'm getting.
I understand that, yes. But
Work with me here. I'm not very smart.
I'm just kind of in the meta zone here. But
Okay.
I don't believe that Dr. Manhattan is really the big bad behind it.
And now I didn't think about that until you just mentioned that now. And yeah, that's okay.
I didn't think that either.
Probably being meant to think so. We're probably meant to assume that he is the vengeful god whom Zoom meets and who then fries him, and who also was the one holding the Flashpoint in place and then lets it go.
I think up to that last page, we were meant to think it was Dr. Manhattan, but that last quote just tells you he's not the big baddie.
So now I'm kind of anxious to discover. I'm kind of sorry that we're going to have all this unnecessary conflict between DC characters and Watchmen characters. Yeah. But I would like to know who is actually behind all of this.
Now,
who's been perhaps subtly manipulating Dr. Manhattan into doing what he has done.
I know that the whole Justice League Darkseid War thing just happened, But would it be crazy to think it's Darkseid manipulating Dr. Manhattan?
I think this is on a slightly grander scale than even Darkseid himself likes to work.
Okay.
He's a manipulator and a machinator, but really more of the military kind, not the metaphysical kind, if you see what I'm saying. And we can probably rule out Anti-Monitor, too.
That was my next thought.
A theory I've had for a while is that they might actually bring in the Gentry from Grant Morrison's Multiversity. But that's probably an outside possibility, since not a whole lot of other creators like to work with Morrison's big ideas. Witness the fate of Hypertime.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of bullet points from Jeff Johns' interview discussing Doomsday Clock. It's not a Watchmen sequel.
Good.
It's a standalone story.
So there won't be tie-ins to various DC.
No. That's
also good.
That's very clear in the article.
Plus.
There will be DC characters throughout this, but it focuses on only a handful. Of course, Superman and Manhattan are the main focus.
Good.
It's
depth rather than breadth. That's a good thing.
November 2017, Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson, Doomsday Clock.
And all things being equal, again, that's a hell of a long time away.
Yeah, well,
this ending in
6 months.
Gary Frank just tweeted out a picture of the blank page of page 1, issue 1, with the top being 6 of the 9 panels and the bottom being a whole panel. So I don't know if that means he's just starting it now, or he can show the picture of the page now.
Yeah,
the
when
blank
he started
page.
it, yeah.
But, again, that'll be a thing. I may try to just, depending on how it ships, and just go right to the store and get it right away so I can talk about it right away and not be spoiled. All right. Anything else anyone's read recently we want to chat about briefly? Or not so briefly. It's up to you.
I had stuff that I wanted to. I have a small pile forming of things that I'm pulling out from my various shipment piles that I have all over the room now. Mm-hmm. And I was going to try and dive into them, but that just didn't work out this week.
Okay. Adam, you have anything?
Well, I didn't come prepared officially to talk about anything else, but I might as well throw a mention out to this. This is one of the things that I read on our trip out to C2E2, actually. I got my first extended taste of Marvel's New Universe from the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a bunch of years ago, I found a cheap trade of Starbrand Volume 1, the only volume of Starbrand that I think Marvel actually published. Mm-hmm. It covers like the first 7 issues of that Jim Shooter and John Romita Jr. published story. But it was one of the first New Universe concepts, and it was kind of a cosmic hero thing. It's about it's kind of a twist on the Green Lantern story, where a young auto mechanic named Ken Connell, who lives in the Pittsburgh suburbs, which not at all coincidentally is also where Jim Shooter is from, and he's dirt biking out in the mountains because it's the 80s, and an alien
DMX,
shows
man.
up. Exactly. And an alien shows up and gives him this incredible weapon called the Starbrand, which manifests itself as a little tattoo-like marking on his body, which gives him all kinds of fantastic powers, and then it tampers with his memories in ways that he has yet to understand, and leaves him alone, and the alien fakes its own death and leaves him alone to muddle out how to work these powers himself. And so it's all about this 20-something slacker, basically, an underachiever working at a local Volkswagen dealership instead of actually trying to move forward with his life, dating an older woman with 2 kids, and but at the same time sort of looking at every female body that walks past him. He's definitely... Ken Connell's a bit of a womanizer, and probably Jim Shooter instilled that in his character from his own personality. And so it's just about this average Joe trying to work out what these powers are, how they work, and what the heck he should be doing with them in a more or less realistic world, since this is not the Marvel Universe. That's the whole idea. It's the new universe, and it was supposed to be a world where there weren't lots of secret empires and celestials and Skrulls and things. Aliens have never invaded Earth. There's no giant Kirby monsters running around. Superpowers and supernatural phenomena like this have never existed until the 1980s. So it's an interesting world to explore. Not that many people really wanted to explore it, apparently, because it's an experiment that failed ultimately. I think the whole thing crumbled within 2 or 3 years. But by the end of it, I believe John Byrne actually came on board and took over the reins of Starbrand after Jim Shooter and Romita moved on. But those first 7 issues are actually a pretty good read. You know, I've always been interested in tales of cosmic power in the hands of mere mortals. And plus, it's set in western Pennsylvania, so fairly close to home. Shooter injects all kinds of local color into it, like local dialect and place names and things like that. So fun for Pennsylvanians to experience, like ourselves. And just so if you're a fan of the Kyle Rayner story, for example, because it's kind of a lot like that. Just an average guy whose life is kind of directionless, suddenly having an incredible source of power thrust upon him, and then figuring out what to do with it, and the impact it has on all aspects of his life.
I still laugh at myself when the whole new universe came out. At the time, I was reading G.I. Joe heavily, and the new universe was introduced in a one-shot called The Pit. And I thought, oh, well, this has got to be about G.I. Joe's The Pit, because that's what the base was called. So I picked up this square-bound book. I took it home, and I'm like, all right, man, new G.I. Joe story. I didn't know it was coming out. I'm reading. I'm going, what the hell is this? This has absolutely nothing to do with the base G.I. Joe or Cobra. I am completely lost. But I did try some of the new universe stuff as a result of that once I learned what it was. But yeah, that's a great faux pas story on my part. Going, G.I. Joe Pit, great. Yeah, that's not it.
And well, speaking of cosmic, I can talk briefly, if you don't mind, about Silver Surfer number 10. It's the most recent issue, I believe, that came out in the stands. And I love in the credit box it says storytellers Dan Slott and Michael Allred, because they are a team on this book, and I just love this book to death. And I'll just read briefly the opening recap page, if you will. This is all you really need to know about the book. Chosen by Galactus to be his herald and imbued with the power cosmic, Norrin Rad from the planet Zenla became the Silver Surfer. Now freed from his servitude to the World Eater, the Silver Surfer travels the spaceways on a mission of heroism and discovery. And then, of course, you have his companion, born to a couple of very nice people in the small town of Anchor Bay, Massachusetts. A young girl in love with her hometown grew up to be Dawn Greenwood, co-manager of the Greenwood Inn. That is, until she was kidnapped by aliens. So together, the Silver Surfer and Dawn conquered cosmic villainy, and Dawn chose to accompany the Surfer on his space adventures. That's all you need to know.
And meanwhile, in your head, you're hearing dum 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 dum.
Right. Because this book more or less isn't bound by any bogged down continuity, any events. A lot of them are just standalone stories. You can pretty much jump in anywhere. And I mean the combination of Slott and Allred, they're quickly becoming one of my favorite collaborative teams. Okay. Just the art in this book is gorgeous. And look at this image of eternity.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! And this issue here, it ends up in a great love story. I mean, it just pulls at your strings. It's just a great payoff here, and I love this book to death. And I hope we talked about this briefly. I don't know where we were, but that we hope it doesn't get canceled.
Yes, I hope it doesn't either.
I mean, I know issue 11's been solicited and coming out, but this is one of my favorite books out there right now. And again, I'm not a huge Marvel guy, but this is set in the Marvel universe. They do give you some interact with other characters from the universe, but you're not tied down by continuity. You can just read an issue, pick it up, put it down, and enjoy it.
I would love for 2017 Pants to go back and talk to 2007 Pants, who didn't read much Marvel, and smack him in the head going, are you nuts?
I mean, yeah, I've listened to some of the episodes in the past or going back and see, like, I would just sit out episodes with Marvel-centric things, and it's like, what the hell was I thinking? I know, it was crazy.
And I could do it, too, with stuff, but...
you thought you were going to get away easily, but no! Because you just mentioned the last segment, Muddle, when you talk about Star Brands.
Let's talk some more about stuff you used not to read, Brian.
No, let's not. Muddle the Bird! Because now, this one is also the penultimate entry because we had another one sent in after that. So
you get to use that word twice.
I did. I'm so happy to do it. Okay, so in this segment, we're going to be playing for, actually our listener, Joel Lemon, is going to be playing for, again, the original art by Jay Corum of Wolverine. We're not sure, again, who the other X character is.
Still going with Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of my limited knowledge there. But
quite likely. There's something about that striped top of hers. It just kind of reminds me of, like, Ultimate Jean Grey.
Yep. Okay. And we're going to jump right into the questions 3. Well, first of all, it says, good afternoon. I would like to take a shot at muddling the famous Murd. My first question is from Marvel Comics G.I. Joe issue 33, printed in March of 1985.
Okay, so between 1970 and 2000.
I'm not going to say anything.
In this issue, several members of the G.I. Joe squad are forced to commandeer Bongo, the Balloon Bear's van. Which of these lucky Joes ends up on a date with Bongo in the end of the issue?
Oh, God, I don't remember that.
I'm just going to say Shipwreck.
No, I'm sorry.
Flint.
Ripcord. All right. My second question is from IDW's run on the Transformers. In the miniseries Escalation number 1 in November of 2006, a certain Autobot is believed to be destroyed by a secret government agency. It is later discovered that his dismembered head is being used to puppeteer agency-controlled versions of himself. Name the Autobot.
Well, again, it's pretty much just a matter of naming a random Autobot here. So, Ratchet.
Bumblebee.
Sunstreaker.
May not have heard of that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all right. I'm 2/3 of the way to
Well,
a muddle.
I peeked ahead of this one, and this one might be a little bit of a letter-high fastball for you. We'll see.
Oh, well, we'll see.
My-
It's got to be DC pre-1970.
And that is correct. My third and final question comes from DC Comics Hawkman number 5, printed in January of 1965. Hawkman and Hawkgirl are once again forced to stop the evil schemes of the owner of the dimensionometer device.
Dimensionometer, perhaps?
I like the way you speak there. So that device, which gives the user the ability to shift to a two-dimensional form.
Okay.
Name this early Hawkman enemy.
Carl Sands, the Shadow Thief.
The answer is Carl Sands, a.k.a. Shadow Thief. Yes.
All right.
I saw that and I said, oh, please, come on. You got to do a harder one than that.
You gave me a cookie, Joel.
I like how you expressed that the letter high fastball.
Well, I mean, obviously he's got you saw his eyes light up.
It
Oh!
was in the proverbial wheelhouse.
It was like a grapefruit. All right. Well, we do still have, at this point, one more Muddled Bird in the queue.
Okay.
So we need another one to make the next
Somebody
one.
else send in
The
another
penultimate.
packet so that Brian can say penultimate one
But
more
if they send
time.
in more than one, it's no longer the penultimate one.
So
then.
only send one.
Just send
See,
one. Everybody out there,
Coordinate with one
only
another.
send one. Once we have the turkey of the penultimate vernacular, then we can go
they're
crazy.
Not going to know that. Anyway, all right. Is there anything else, gentlemen, before we adjourn for the evening?
This podcast has a tendency to become silly.
That's all right. Once again, this episode was brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs.
This is not my penultimate discussion or reading of the credits.
Hey, you're trying too hard now, Shane.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com, where you send your Muddle the Murd entries to. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. Let us know what you think of Button Who's Got the Button. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Thank you to everyone who contributes to the episode and sends in the muddles of the Murds. We appreciate it and could not do it without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.